Take advantage of the Boxing King Media discount at BYD Sheffield. You can get this amazing car for £269 per month with a £269 deposit. Details in the description.
Yeah, it was a great night. I mean, I never thought, as I said to you, I'd find myself in MINCE, but when we sat down with Pat, we wanted a venue. We didn't want to go into Co-op Arena or Manchester Arena and do 3,500. We wanted to sell somewhere out and have it noisy, and that was just under 3,000 here. He sold half of it out of his own hand. I thought the atmosphere was brilliant. I thought his performance was really mature, nice and composed. He's got very, very heavy hands. I thought the opponent was outstanding in terms of his choice. Yeah, I mean, I said before, I think, I'm not saying he'd beat British champions, but I think he'd give all those guys like good fights. And that was Pat's debut tonight. So I thought the performance was fantastic, and I think Pat Brown is going to be one of the big stars of British boxing moving forward. Cameron Bong, after a slow start, really did what I've been wanting him to do for a while, which is just hold your feet and just tee off and be spiteful and be accurate. And you know, it was a good performance. He's levels above Jordan Flynn, and now I think he should go back and rematch Gavin Gwynn and put any doubts in anyone's mind straight. And I think he wins that fight well. Mark Dickinson against Farnell I loved. I thought it's exactly the kind of fight we want to see on TV. And Mark Dickinson was kind of fighting for his career tonight in there, if I'm honest. And I thought it was a really good performance in a great fight. William Croller had a really good test. I thought he won by wider than a point, but he still won. I think Taylor Bevan is an outstanding talent. Good win for Conor Tudsbury, and a good fight with Liam Taylor, who will now fight Conor Walker for the British and Commonwealth titles as the mandatory. So I thought it was a brilliant night of boxing.
We've only got 3 questions, so I'll jump ahead, Eddie. Crocker-Donovan rematch has been ordered. Is it the right call?
I don't know, if I'm honest. I mean, you know, I saw Billy Nelson's comments. He weren't very happy. I have no say with the IBF. I had no say with the appeal. I had no input in the appeal. And when you got 2 fighters, you don't want to. You know, you want to stay out of it and say, guys, whatever the IBF decide, they decide. I got criticised by Team Donovan for taking the fight into Lewis Crocker's backyard, and I was being showing favouritism to Lewis Crocker. Now I'm showing favouritism to Paddy Donovan. The reality is I think there's arguments on both sides. The punch was definitely late, you know, and I think maybe one of the points deducted from him earlier in the fight was harsh, but you can't ignore the fact that the punch was late. Was it worthy of a disqualification? Maybe, but that's what the IBF had decided. I mean, the reality is that Lewis Crocker had a gift from God at that moment because the fight was over, basically. But Paddy Donovan still made the mistake, and that's on him. But it don't matter what I think, there's going to be a rematch, and it's going to be a huge fight.
Last one. Yesterday, Chisora was made mandatory for Dubois. We've got Parker, possibly Dubois. You've mentioned about H.ETURKI. Can you give us any definitive clearance on what's ahead in the heavyweight division?
Not really, no. And that's the exciting thing, really. I mean, I'm not mad on the Dubois-Chisora fight because I don't think it's a great style for Del at this stage. But listen, he's there, and if he wants to roll the dice for the world title, good luck to him. What I want to see, you know, if it's not AJ fighting Dubois, it's Parker Dubois. I mean, that fight was signed, it was agreed, it fell through 24 hours before the fight. Why shouldn't he get the chance to fight him? See what happens with Usyk. You know, I said yesterday in an interview, I'd quite like to see Usyk retire. And that's not Usyk should retire. That's, I think if he retired and walked away as undefeated, undisputed cruiserweight and heavyweight world champion, he goes down as one of the greatest of all time. Is there really motivation for Alexander Usyk to fight a Joseph Parker or rematch Daniel Dubois? If there is, good luck to him. But, you know, I don't know what's going to happen. For AJ, we're in no tearing rush, but we want to see him back in a ring. He can punch in about 4 or 5 weeks, and then after that, we'll have to make a decision.
Eddie, with the TKO Boxing League, is there any risk of your top fighters being like having their contracts bought out or anything like that?
I don't think TKO have got any interest in recruiting that level of fighters. I don't think they want to pay that kind of money. I'm aware of probably half a dozen fighters that have signed for the league, and I've been invited to fight in the league, and they're all good fighters, but lower level guys, either prospects or guys with a couple of losses. And I think that's the format of the league is, you know, to build profile of fighters for relatively small purses and try and build them into stars, but get everybody fighting everybody. So yeah, I don't anticipate. You got to remember as well that sometimes boxers' purses are heavily inflated in relation to their commercial value. TKO got to be very careful not to get involved in overpaying fighters and how that will affect their relationship with talent in other areas of their business, namely UFC. Because, the disparity between pay in UFC and boxing is quite wild. And, I think that the league will want to focus on a lower level fighter, but get them to be in exciting fights and be part of the format as you're told, really. And I don't think that will work with the top level of the game.
Last question from me. The other day we posted a video of you eating a sandwich which did 5
you
million
did,
views. I did,
yeah.
yeah.
You
But
got
Frank,
it sticking, didn't you?
I did, yeah. But can you explain the mayonnaise and why on earth are people fixated with you eating a sandwich?
Yeah, so, firstly, when I'm in an airport, the amount of people that come up to me and go, "Oh my God, you're in an airport." It's like, well, how the fuck do you think I get around? Now, I sit at the gate like everybody else. I also never really quite understand why people want to get on the plane so quickly, right? Now, when I travel, I'm Group 1, right? But I never get on Group 1. I'll wait till everybody's on the plane and then I'll get on. Why would I want to sit on a plane for 45 minutes? Now, when you're in the airport, obviously, sometimes you're moving around, you're rushing around. I was delayed. I was quite hungry. So I went into a Camden food company, it was, which I've got to be honest with you, it's not my favourite outlet. Sorry, Camden. And they only had either chicken Caesar salad, which really didn't look good at all, or the sandwiches. Now, the Americans do the sandwiches. You've got that much turkey in there, right? That much cheese. Nice. But the bread is very dry. So I buy the sandwich, and as I'm checking out, to the side, you've got the sauces, right? Namely, mayonnaise. So I pick up a foil of mayonnaise because I know that the sandwich is going to be really dry. And there's no mayonnaise in the sandwich. Now, one of the questionable things that I did was, my daughter told me off about this. "Dad, why are you applying mayonnaise per bite? It's disgusting." And I said, well, I didn't have any cutlery. So I couldn't squeeze the mayo out and spread it on the thing. So I just get the sandwich, open the mayo, little dollop, bite, little dollop, bite. But when I looked at the video, it was the level of concentration in my face and the excitement of putting this sandwich in my mouth made me realise that, Eddie, you are a fat pig. Do you know what I mean? And I couldn't believe how many views it did. 5 million views. And the mad thing is, both my daughters sent me the clip from TikTok or wherever. And it was like a voiceover. Eddie's like you did. Eddie Hearn eats sandwich in airport. He will do a meal review later or something like that. I'm like, for fuck's sake. You can't even eat a sandwich in peace. So thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Deontay Wilder back.
Yeah.
Back into June. Could the stars align for this much awaited Anthony Joshua fight? I know you're still looking.
I don't know. The fight, I don't know the guy he's fighting. I think he got stopped by Richard Torres, didn't he, or something? But listen, Wilder probably needs a real easy comeback fight. And if he can't deal with this guy, he's got to pack it in. But I think Deontay Wilder being in the heavyweight division is great for the sport. So hopefully he looks good. And yeah, I don't rule out an AJ fight. I don't know. Is the fight in May? June, the fight. Yeah, it's probably not going to suit us in terms of AJ's date back, but we'll see.
Dmitry Bivol, any update there? Obviously, Turki doesn't seem particularly keen on a David Benavidez fight, so if it is to be the trilogy fight with Beterbiev, will belt start to be vacated if that's what's to be next at that stage?
Yeah, we had an offer via the lawyer from Samson Boxing to fight Dmitry Bivol. I saw Samson's comment about the split. He got the purses completely wrong in terms of what Bivol made for Beterbiev, but the reality is this. Turki Al-Sheikh has given Dmitry Bivol 4 fights, right? He gave him, most importantly, the fight with Beterbiev for undisputed. And better than that, after what we thought was a poor decision, he gave him the rematch 4 months later. So we are doing whatever His Excellency wants us to do for the next fight. I would expect that to be, because of how he dealt with Bivol Beterbiev 1, I would expect that to be the trilogy fight. If His Excellency turns around and says, we want you to fight David Benavidez, no problem. But we want to keep hold of all the belts. But if we have to lose one to follow His Excellency's plan for Dmitry Bivol, no problem as well.
I asked you yesterday about the logistics for the Times Square card, and people on social media seemed a bit sort of dismayed at the fact that tickets won't be available to fans. It's not really the impression that was given from mock-up designs and such. Just a chance to respond to that.
Mock-up designs was not. I believe the mock-up designs came from a social media account, AI account of how it might look. There was never an intention to sell tickets for the event. I believe there will be guests there, but the whole concept of these, you know, it's not my concept or event, so I'm not, you know, this is my opinion, is it's a TV experience. Do you know what I mean? It's something in a location that is quite wild, and it's not built. I mean, the whole fascination with this, you're losing the gate, right? So, which I could never do this, because you're literally leaving somewhere between $5 and $10 million on the floor by not having a crowd. But in these unique locations, it's not about the crowd. It's about, you know, they'll be focusing on the TV production and the look of it. It's like Alcatraz. If that happens, they're not going to put a crowd on Alcatraz Island. It's just the whole experience of that location. So yeah, it was never an intention. It was never announced there'd be a crowd. And I expect there to be people there, but as I understand it, they won't be selling tickets.